Hello, hockey fans of all ages, shapes, and sizes. I apologize if you can hear the generator as I'm walking and the sun if it kind of pokes through these trees. But yeah, just at a rest stop outside Spokane, making my way to Coeur d'Alene, which is famous for Gozer Ranch. That's where a lot of NHLers go to retire. So I'm gonna get some breakfast there, I think, and check out that course. I'll see how much it is to play. I probably needed an ex-NHLer salary to play there, but I wanted to give a shout out to Butcher Brad. Love this hat, hardcore carnivore. If you're a meat eater, go check out BJ's Country Market in London, Ontario, Canada. And if the wife is picking out some steaks, or if the husband's picking out some steaks, then why not take the car down to shout out to my buddy Fisher, who and Adrian, who own the Tire Craft in Delaware. They're side by side there, so you can shop for meats while you're getting an oil change. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today was team role and team identity. And I think it's really important, as I talked about in another episode, about finding basically your top six or bottom six. I hate those phrases, but more identity roles for your team. So what do you bring to the table as far as I said you need kind of like six playmakers / shooters or finishers, and you need like six muckers or grinders to round out your lineup for the playoffs. Like, I think the more I look at it, the Sharks are fairly well built for the regular season this year. Actually, I think they're going to make a little bit bigger jump than people expect, especially signing Duclair. And if Tarasenko's on the way, then God forbid these guys make the playoffs for the first time in like 4 or 5 years. I think honestly that's what they're trying to do or go for. I think that what I wanted to highlight today with the Sharks specifically is you got Luke Cunnin, who, sorry Luke, kind of forgot about you there. You went down mid-season. He's coming back. So I think he was probably playing a little bit higher role than what maybe was in his mind, or with the Sharks team composition, whatever, last year. These things can really affect team psychology and gel. And I want to say that Ryan Reeves, watching his interview with the Leafs, he's bang on with if you have a team with a bunch of cliques and people aren't getting along, you're not going to make the playoffs, you're not going to win, you're not going to have a good time. So I don't think the Sharks have too many of these identity issues in their lineup. It seems like a lot of the players really enjoyed Coach Quinn, playing for him, playing for the team identity. So it's just a matter of like, I got to look at myself and say, as Cunnin or Lindblom or whomever, I think Lindblom's back. I think he's got one more year on his deal. I'd love to see him have a good rebound year as well too. I'd love to see how Luke Cunnin rebounds with his injury. He seems like a very confident guy. So, but unfortunately, I think you got to slot him in the bottom tier, like, of the lineup. And so why I say that is I see him being like that mucker and grinder type guy. And these guys are so valuable in the playoffs. Now, what Coach Quinn could do partway through the year is elevate guys through the lineup based on earned time. And what do I mean by that is if you're having a good stretch and you're the player of the week for your team, maybe you have like 10 points in 7 games or something like that, you've definitely earned the right to take a crack at the power play unit number 1 or 2. or to get a new role like penalty killing or whatever. So I think this stuff is earned by merit, and I think Coach Quinn definitely stresses that, at least from what I think of his press conferences. So yeah, like, and finally, oh yeah, just a quick, get this beauty too, America the Beautiful. I wanted to show that. We're good till July next year. If you're, this has been an amazing couple weeks for me, heading from Ontario to Alberta. I'm almost there. As I said, I'm near Spokane, heading up to Alberta, I think, for tomorrow. Yeah, so by the way, craters the moon, insane volcanic rocks. I don't know if this is covered with this America the Beautiful pass, but I'm gonna check out Glacier National Park on my way up, and I've already seen Yellowstone, Mount Rushmore. What are some, the Badlands was incredible. That was like bananas view. The view was bananas from that. It was insane, incredible. So and I guess you underestimate driving through the mountains in West Wyoming or all of Idaho. There's all these mountains everywhere. So like driving through Yellowstone with all the construction in that, if you're taking your family there, give yourself like the entire day from Cody in, or if you're coming in from the west side, you know, it takes like an hour and a half to see the geyser, and all these kind of things. So sorry for that little, I'm a travel nut. I've been all around the world, so I wanted to give a few tips there. But yeah, like what do you do for the Sharks now? Like, how do these players fit role identities? Now, I wanted to talk about the difference between a playmaker and a play driver. At least my interpretation of that is confidence with the puck. So insert swagger into the conversation as far as a play driver. I'd say this person is confident with the puck. Like from the Sharks, for example, Thomas Hertl, I know he deferred a lot last year. I think he was kind of down on his season. He looks like he's working out like a champ. So I'd love a bounce back year from him, showing good leadership, smiling, not getting too down, not getting too up. He's kind of, I think he's deadly when he's even keel and just smiling, and you know, he's got that gritty intensity to him. I'd say Logan Couture is also a play driver. Basically, you know, like especially on the penalty kill, he can steal a puck and go in one-on-one on the goalie, and he almost always scores. He's got so many shorthanded goals, so many playoff goals, etc. So a couple names I wanted to mention that I think could be interesting play drivers. I think Anthony Duclair, he really impressed me in Florida when I watched a few of their games. As far as driving the play, like he can take it end to end. I feel like Luke Cunnin could surprise, but the other name that I find really interesting is Jacob Peterson. I wonder about this guy. Can he be a play driver? He looks like a pure playmaker for sure. Yeah, like Barabanov is, you know, he's one of my faves. Imagine if Tarasenko gets signed. Holy crap, those two together would be insane. But I also, just a sidebar, I totally worry when I'm hearing rumors of LeBanc going for Myers, because that would mean the Sharks have 3 right shot D. So unless one of those guys is falling off the depth chart, that could sign that, or signal that Carlson's leaving, which please don't leave, Eric. You got to do what you got to do, buddy. But you'll always be one of my favorites, and my son's favorite too. Yeah, so the other sort of top quadrant is your finishers, right? So Duclair definitely is a finisher. Tarasenko would be a massive finisher if they got him. Philip Zadina, the recent signing. I don't know much about this guy, but I've seen some highlights, and he looks like definitely a finisher. Great backhand too, by the way. That's underrated. Guy having a lethal backhand like that. That was like Datsuk had that. I'm not saying he's Datsuk, but Datsuk had that crazy backhand. And LeBanc, of course, incredible finisher, but he doesn't have much swagger with the puck. Sorry, banker, I love you, but you know what I mean by he's not a play driver. So what I mean by this is, like, if you look at a guy in the neutral zone, this is how you can tell if the guy's got swagger or a play driver. Do they get the puck on a turnover in the neutral zone? Do they just pop it back to the defense and go off on a line change? Or and it obviously depends. Like, even a play driver will do that if they're tired in the end of their shift, if they've already had a minute-long shift or so, 45 seconds in the playoffs. But yeah, do they defer to the defense and just go off? I see a guy as like Duclair. I've seen him go end to end in Florida. I've seen Barabanov go. He's got a lot of swagger and confidence too, so he's probably part of that driver. And the guy to watch is Jacob Peterson to me as a play driver. I do think now I want to talk briefly about specialty roles. So and yeah, obviously huge signing with Giovanni Smith as you know, the muckers and grinders. He's going to add a lot of identity to that bottom six. Anyway, yeah, so you're basically your role makers for specialty times, like penalty kill or power play. I see, I'll go to penalty kill first. I see that your best defensive defensemen are Pickles, Vlasic, of course, and Mario Ferraro. And I still think he's trying to find that offensive game, but he's probably running out of chances in my mind. I think he is a stellar defensive defenseman, one of the top shot blocking guys in the league. So you have to be happy with your identity or role that you bring. We're all different, you know, we're all different talents, different kinds of people, different kinds of players, and it takes a team to win. So you got to buy into this identity or role that you're given by your team. And I know I'll talk to that briefly from a psychology standpoint, and then I want to talk about Henry Thrun, because I think it's going to be pretty difficult for him to make the team this year. I love this guy as a futures captain of Harvard. I love the leadership. I see him as eventually an offensive guy, which I'll talk about when I go to the power play. But yeah, there I go again, jumping on the subject. So yeah, like sports psychology. When we're playing Little League, shout out Diener and Andy Gagne. What are you up to these days? Anyways, before Gagne was a big home run hitter back in the day, believe it or not, I was actually, I'm a bit out of practice, a bit over a little COVID belly going here, but I'm working on it. I'm trying to get my golf game back. I was a junior champion when I was younger. People wouldn't know it now by how much I play. It's a very expensive sport. But I'm big on mental health and wellness. And when I think of like back to Little League, I remember being slotted in the third or fourth spot, which is a premier spot for when you got the confidence in your coach that you're going to always get on base. Shout out to Moneyball and Jonah Hill for getting on base. The equivalent for that in hockey, I think, is like, you know, it's a few things. It's like goals for, it's like goals against, that kind of stuff. Like your plus minus is sort of like your Moneyball a little bit. That's why people were harping on Carlson so much. But the guy was on like every single power play. You're going to have shorthanded goals. You know, he was on for like the most of the offense and like most of the game, a lot of the games. So and the Sharks were a losing team, so some of that stuff is goofy. But maybe getting on base would be like your shooting percentage or your percentage of blocks for the number of shots the other team had or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, I digress. I'm getting way off track here. So from a sports psychology, if you get moved down the lineup, eventually you lose your self-confidence and in your abilities. And like I had like 5 homers. I think I had the most. I think 40 had 3 that year, 2 or 3 I think, and then a couple with 1. So I had 1 year where I was slotted in that 3rd or 4th slot, and you feel confident. You're getting more at bats because you usually get up in the first inning almost always. So you usually get 1 more at bat. And then when you get moved down, like I ended up hating baseball at some point. It's maybe not to do with the coach, maybe my skill. I wasn't keeping on top of my skill. I don't know. I don't blame people for anything. I blame myself. But from a sports psychology standpoint, when you get moved down the lineup, it can really play with your head and play with, what you think of yourself as a player. It can really eat away at you. And the best advice I ever received from a psychology standpoint is, if you live too far into the future, you're going to have dreams and hope, but there's anxiety that comes with that. If you live too far into the past, you're going to have depression and anger and bitterness and regret and some of these other things, failure. So live every day like it's a gift. It is the present time. And that's the way you should, I really liked Mitch Marner saying that on TSN. He said, take it day by day. We don't know what's going on. Like Austin and Willie are my friends. They'll be attending my wedding kind of thing. He's staying very non-political, which I think is really smart by him. Anyway, so back to the specialty guys. I think that potentially Fabian Zetterlund, I know you would think power play guy, but I'd love to get him in front of some shots. He's a big boy and he's fast. I think maybe he gets a ton of shorthanded goals. I know he has it in him. I know he played a different role in Jersey. And this is part of like signing a new team. It's like any job that you go to, you're not going to be the captain or assistant. You're not going to be the general manager or the assistant GM, or like you're not going to be a manager or assistant manager at a retail store if you just show up. Maybe if you have a lot of experience and they trade for you, aka you get hired at that job, you come in with a lot of experience, you can demand to go in higher than employees. And the people that are in that pyramid, trying to go up the pyramid, they get bumped off the side as you jump above them, right? So that's infuriating. And I believe that's a lot of what's going on in Calgary right now, is like people are livid about the leadership. And, obviously seeing Huberdeau, who will probably be the captain, most likely. I heard he's like some of the guys, I think it was like Hazy was saying, or who was it that said, maybe it was like Elliot Friedman, I can't remember, but they said he's a bit of a ranger, meaning like he's an explorer, he's a missionary, like he's going out, which I see Revo being a lot like that, like a ranger type guy. Like I call it a connector as well, like you're good at bringing people together. I love that role personally. My family, we had a lot of hockey parties. My parents were so busy, our house probably got destroyed by the kids all the time, running around and eating snacks and probably eating out of house and home, as the saying goes, with like the cupboards being bare. But my parents found a way to do it all. And the Thorntons were always really good with that. The Balkings were always really good with that. And I think the Todds, shout out Toddy, haven't seen you in a while, buddy. Hopefully we can get together again. So I think they were pretty good with a lot of the parties. So, and I think Yeah, that's probably it. I know a lot of guys were good for, you know, they always showed up too, like Gilly. I want to say, you know, Harwood, guys like that. They would always show up to the. They'd usually be there. Trav, like your steady Eddie, like loyal type people. What else can I talk about here? Yeah, so the offensive side, you know, with Duclair coming in, he's going to be a specialty guy. You know, who's going to get bumped off power play unit 1? I don't know. That is going to destroy someone's soul, and they're going to have to dig deep to, you know, like Jumbo eventually accepted, you know, second line power play time in Florida because he was lower on the depth chart. He's a legend in San Jose, obviously, and you always earn that respect, right? So when guys, I always believe that when guys get traded in the off season or whatever, you know, it can really mix up a room, and that could be a good thing. Like as the Leafs, maybe they got a, you know, Revo and Domi and some of these other locker room guys that like wake these guys the F up in the playoffs. So just with that, I was talking to my cousin Brookie's boyfriend who's going to Boston College, BC, about who do I think is going to win the cup, and I said Leafs or Carolina, and he's like, "Are you kidding?" And I actually wasn't. Those would be my picks in the East, because the Leafs have. I remember when Tampa Bay got swept, and they did some retooling, and they went on to win it in the bubble. I look at Carolina as like, come on, man. How is Carolina in on, like, how are they not like 100 million over cap? They've literally got a talented team, and they're in on every single effing trade that is out there. Like, their name's attached to Karlsson somehow. It's like it was attached to Tarasenko. It's like Carolina's in on everything. Come on. Like, you're a floozy, Carolina. With all due respect. I love Burnsy, and yeah, I like the team. They do the hurricane, like the storm at the end of the game and stuff. I really like their team. I'm joking, but from an offensive specialty type guy, like Karlsson, obviously, on defense, and I think Nikolai Knyzhov, if he can have a bounce back. I don't know if he's going to be partnered up with Karlsson. I think he goes with Carl really well. Is Karlsson even going to be traded? I don't know. I don't see him going to Pittsburgh. Honestly, like, come on, Pens. Like, Dubas, come on. You guys aren't getting them. Like, we're not retaining shit for salary. Like, if you want Karlsson, you're taking them all in, and we're getting assets back. And, like, real players, too. Like, give us Letang then or something. You know, and I know Letang is, like a protected guy of the three, right? Crosby probably won't even let him get traded. So it's like come on, man. I don't see that trade ever happening. If it does, I'll be blown away. I'll hit the floor. I'll be so shocked. But I do know Dubas loves Karlsson, and he tried to get him with the Leafs, and he's trying now with the Pens. So that guy pays his core very, very well, as we know with Toronto, who's handcuffed with these huge contracts and the dilemma of, you know, do you sign Willie first at, you know, 8.8 for his number, or like 10 million closer to the number that I said that his manager wants, and I feel like he could be worth 10 million in a couple years. So if you sign him for an 8-year deal, give the guy 10 freaking million. You're paying Marner 10.9. You're paying, you know, Tavares 11. And this is the thing that Toronto does. Like, at some point, when this rebuild eventually happens, all these guys are going to be gone, and you can't give out these like league top contracts. And maybe that's just wearing the Buds sweater. You know, it's the premier, like the crown jewels of the league. So I get it. Guys come there, and apparently it's like the best training facility, and like, you know, all the trainers in the world. You know, you've got everything. They're like, you know, you're like treated like kings when you go there, or princes, you know. So I don't know. I guess at some point a domino's got to fall, and they got to say, like, you know what, Marner, like, if you sign in 2 years, you're not going to 12 or 13 or 15 million. Like, you know, Tavares is going to hopefully sign for a hometown discount. It's like, you know, he's made the gazillion, like I said. I'm getting way off track here, but like, so the West, who do I see in the West? Vegas could repeat, and also I see Seattle as a dark horse if they get through Vegas. I do like Edmonton Oilers' chances while McDavid and Draisaitl are there, and you know, if we don't see a Leafs Oilers Stanley Cup final in the next few years, I'll be shocked. But that could mean humongous changes for both teams. So this is kind of why I see Austin Matthews wanting to sign like a 3-year deal or something at maybe 12.7, just like, hey, can we win now? And then I can go to my team and get my bag. Like, he'll probably get like 15, 16 mil. Like, if he signs with the Yotes in 3-4 years when they have a new arena in Scottsdale or whatever, maybe he gets his bag and he gets like, you know, 120 million or whatever, you know, like life-changing money. I'm surprised that he doesn't just say stick with the Leafs at 12.7, because as I've ranted on this a couple times, I don't think he deserves 12.7 right now in this standing. So I think the vanity or being the league's highest paid player could come into play here. So yeah, I'd give him a 2-year. You know, it's like, if he wants 12.7, you kick this can down the road. I was hoping that they wouldn't do that, but they fired Dubas, and Treliving's in. He's managing risk by keeping Keefe and stuff. Like, these are things that I talked about as potential ideas and solutions. So, you know, do you extend Matthews out 3 years, maybe at 12.7? Maybe Nylander says, okay, I'll do a 2 or 3 year deal at 8.8 and kind of wait and see. It seems to be what a lot of these people are doing in the league right now, is signing 1, 2, 3 year deals. And then the guys who just love playing hockey, like Timo Meier, McDavid, you know, whoever, McKinnon, they love hockey. They like their team. They like where they are. They're happy in their own skin. And they just say, you know what? I'll play hockey with anybody. I don't care. I just want to win. I want to win cups. I'm a big dog in the yard. I'm making my bag. You know, so why doesn't Austin Matthews just sign for 12.7, 8 years? Like, come on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's got to be infuriating. Because I know he thinks he's worth more. And yeah, if he goes out and scores another 60-goal season, he is worth a lot more. So I think that he's trying to bet on himself, which is fine. You know what? If you want to do that and give away generational wealth, potentially, like, if you make 12, it's over $100 million. Like, how much money do you need for the rest of your life, right? So I think betting on yourself could be a huge mistake, especially with his wrist injury and, you know, other things. Like, I know a lot of people already peg him as like the top American player ever, which could be. But, you know, you got Modano, you got Hull, and some of these guys, right? He's got to be a whole career, I think, in order for people to say that in the same breath. And I guess that's pretty much it. I guess from a specialty, or sorry, like if it was me with the Sharks, I guess, you know, Giovanni Smith, I'd probably throw like Luke Cunnin with him, and maybe Zetterlund for like an absolute energy line, a bunch of beasts, big hitters. You know, like I said, I'd maybe give Zetterlund a try on the penalty kill. I think Jacob Peterson, maybe give him a try on the penalty kill. He's a good playmaker, potentially a play driver. Logan Couture does get a lot of PK minutes, and I love this guy's heart. It's amazing, but I mean, the guy's just getting beat down. He's lost so many teeth, the poor guy. Let him smile for his wife, girlfriend, whatever she is. I think he's got a newborn. Congrats, by the way, this summer. And, you know, give the guy a break, you know. It's like he's been the PK stalwart forever. Let some of these young guys come in and eat some shots. like the Cookie Monster. And we're on 30 minutes here, so I think the last thing is Henry Thrun and Thomas Bordeleau, and Nikolai Knyzhov, Radim Šimik. These are kind of like fringe cusp guys. William Eklund. I think, to me, Eklund has the most to prove. He was injured. I want to see this guy make it. I hear he does have that swagger and confidence. I don't know if he's a play driver yet. I see him as a really gifted winger, like talented winger playmaker. So I would put him with like a Duclair or something, some of these older guys, or a Tarasenko if he gets signed. Get him a shit ton of assists this year, pump his tires up a bit. I think he's had a similar start to his career to Jumbo, where Jumbo had the broken wrist, I believe, with I think it was Adam Graves, who I met. I said, "Hey, Gravy," like he obviously didn't know who the hell I was at the Sharks alumni, but yeah, there was Joe had a couple tough years, and then he went off gangbusters. So I think maybe this Zadina thing is like a gem and a diamond in the rough. We'll see. I don't know if you put Zadina on the top line with Thomas Hertl, but I say this, like, based on merit, like I said, based on, you know, people stepping up, I think you have to slot lines properly as far as like the playoffs, and you have to have certain identities that you're going to live with through the season. And then obviously if you're playing good or whatever and the coach throws you up with that line, because if you play with Hertl, you play with Couture, you're going to get more points, period, right? Like Jumbo made guys legends. Whoever was on his wings all those years, the guy's like probably the best playmaking center in history of the NHL. I guess besides maybe Wayne Gretzky. Yeah, it's like you get slotted in with these guys and you're going to get points. So I guess I would love to see potentially like early on in the year, like an Eklund or a Bordeleau, or you know, maybe when the points are easier, or like guys aren't in the rhythm yet. If you got a really strong off season, working out, and you're kicking butt, and you come in like with like a game, you've been riding the bike, you've been on the bike all summer, and your cardio's like insane off the charts. You might come in hot to start a season like Jonathan Dahlen, and I don't even know where that guy went, right? I say the players that are like proven NHLers, they may not have the best start of the year. They kind of come in slow, and then they're like a slow burner, and they start to get hotter and hotter as the season goes on. And then those are the guys who show up in the playoffs too, like your Justin Williams, or, you know, your Barclay Goodrows and things like that, right? So I guess that's probably it. And just the last thing, I keep forgetting it, and I mentioned it like 20 minutes ago, Henry Thrun. So from a sports psychology, I love the way this kid acts and thinks. He might have a tough time making this lineup this year. I don't know. I see him slotted in there, but you got all these lefties. You got Pickles. You got Knyzhov, who was there first, and maybe he's fallen out of favor a little bit. So I think the Sharks have to be careful how they manage assets, at least Quinny. As far as like sports psychology and things like that. Like Šimik, I mean, this guy was a fan favorite before he broke his leg, and sometimes guys never come back from that, right? It's a life event, it's traumatic. I think that guy's like a heavy hitter. I think that he's just lost his way, he's lost his confidence. So I'd love to for him to talk to a sports psychologist and just say, hey man, like, you got it in you, like. And I think he's got a really hard shot. It's like, you know what, if you're blowing a team out this year, you know, I'm not going to say the Yotes, even though I just did as a ha-ha. Everybody, and like Arizona they're just like kind of the whipping the whipping yo to the league. But you know, say you're blowing a team out, throw Šimek on the power play, throw Ferraro on the power play, throw Thrun on the power play, throw Eklund, throw Fabian Zetterlund, throw Jacob Peterson on the power play, like stuff like that. So I've tried to basically outline like how the different roles and identities of the Sharks this year, and I guess we're going to see how it plays out there. It's still early in the season, off season. Maybe Banker gets traded, who knows. Maybe Tarasenko signed, and they're, you know, maybe Carlson gets traded too. Like I'd be really shocked if that's the case. And if they do trade Carlson, please don't retain anything. Like if they're going to trade with the Leafs, trade for like Matthews or Marner, like straight up, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I think the Sharks would have to throw something in for Matthews to get him, and like a pick or whatever, or some other assets, now players, and like that's never going to happen based on like the Leafs and wanting to keep their superstar. I get it, but like Nylander, I think Nylander could come to the Sharks with like a Brody or a Murray, you know, Matt Murray, if they want to, you know. I know that would give the Sharks 3 goalies, but look at Vegas, look at their depth chart, how many goalies they needed. So I'm not saying the Sharks are going to win the cup, but you know, I think they're a much better team this year. And who knows? I mean, if the Sharks are having a rough year and things aren't going to plan, the gel's not there in the room, and they're dishing all these guys for assets at the deadline, then maybe they are going for Macklin, Celebrini, and you know, I think it's Cole. It's Yzerman with an EI instead of a Y, Stevie Y. Anyways, that's it for today. Yeah, we'll see you next time.